Hello, my name is Kumbia Shinoiki from Kumbi's Music Company. Welcome to our next video in the series, The Problem with Practice. Today we're looking at the journey to intrinsic motivation. In our last video, we looked at the motivation matrix and the correlation between extrinsic and intrinsic motivation and positive and negative engagement. And we talked about how most children, when they first start taking music lessons, fall typically within either quadrant 2, 3, or 4. And it's very, very rare at the beginning of a music journey to find a learner, a child who is positively engaged as well as intrinsically motivated. And so, what we're looking at in today's video is considering ways in which we can transition children from being extrinsically motivated up the axis towards being more intrinsically motivated. So, what is extrinsic motivation? This is where an activity is engaged in because of external influences. So, for example, the promise of reward, a desire to please in order to avoid punishment. And extrinsic motivation is a very powerful tool and it's very invaluable in many circumstances when raising children. However, according to Dr. Vanessa Lebu, if you keep rewarding children for a particular behavior, it's like you're giving them the message that the behavior itself isn't much fun. And so, where it's overused, extrinsic motivation can actually become a barrier to intrinsic motivation forming. Um, Research has found that where children were given an extrinsic reward for doing something that they would have ordinarily done anyway, once the reward is taken away, their interest in that activity also goes away. And so, as parents and as educators, we need to be very careful in the extent to which we use extrinsic motivation. On the other hand, intrinsic motivation comes from within. And we find that intrinsic motivation develops naturally where there is a sense of competence when a new skill is mastered, a sense of accomplishment when other people show appreciation for that skill, where there's a sense of belonging, where there's some meaning that comes out of the activity um, from doing good with that particular skill, where there's a sense of self confidence when goals are achieved, personal goals are achieved, and an intrinsic motivation occurs where there's a sense of personal joy. And so, how do we get to a place where we are stimulating and encouraging the development of intrinsic motivation using these different elements? So, first of all, let's look at competence. When you feel that you're competent, you're good at something, then you are motivated to keep working at it. And so, for somebody who's developing a new skill, who's learning musical instruments for the first time, it's important to reinforce their sense of competence. And we do that by acknowledging, by recognizing and acknowledging small improvement in their skills and abilities. The most minuscule improvement should be acknowledged, and also acknowledge the struggle that is implicit in the learning process and celebrate the successes. And so, by doing so on a continual basis, we're helping children to understand that this is actually something that you're good at. And yes, it might be difficult at the beginning, but if you keep at it, you're only going to keep getting better. A sense of accomplishment. Now, this is where the skill is recognized by external people, not just by people at home, not just by the music teacher. And so, in developing intrinsic motivation, it's important for children to feel a sense of accomplishment along the way. And therefore, taking part in public concerts and events and private concerts. So organizing, having a little sing along or a little event at home where other family members or friends and family can come and watch the children perform. It's a really good way to get them to feel a sense of accomplishment. working towards and earning awards can really help a sense of accomplishment. We try in our studio to give all our children a diverse opportunities to earn an award in different categories. And so, if a child is, working towards any of our either our character awards or goals, one of the awards from the leaderboard, um, it's really good to kind of encourage them to pursue something um, in any of those areas, just to help them get a sense of accomplishment, which will in turn boost their intrinsic motivation. Taking part in competitions, sitting exams, these are all ways in which a child can fulfill something, achieve something, and be applauded by people outside their immediate circle, and therefore give them the sense of accomplishment, which will be motivating for them. Another way to help nurture intrinsic motivation is for children to have a sense of belonging. And therefore, it's important that they have opportunities to use their music within a community of other musicians. And so, for example, where there's an opportunity in our studio to work on a project collaboratively with other children, it's a great way to create that sense of belonging. Attending studio workshops is another way. Being a member of bands or orchestras or choirs, taking part in any of the activity clubs that we offer is another way to help children feel a sense of belonging, and that will boost their sense of intrinsic motivation. Another way to help intrinsic motivation develop is to infuse learning with a sense of meaning. And meaning comes when we use our skill in service to others. So this is completely opposite to, performing in order to be paid or to get a recognition or whatever. This is purely, doing something in service to other people. And so, for example, for older children, they might look to serve as mentors. um, you might get your children involved in community service using their music to perform at events in hospitals and old people's homes. Your children can actually create performance postcards where they record themselves performing and send it on to other members of the family, perhaps to a pen pal, lots of different ways of sharing their gift with others, and also taking part in benefit concerts where the purpose is to raise finances to support needy communities. There are lots of different ways to infuse meaning into learning, and when there's a meaning that is outside of the child's immediate kind of day-to-day um, you know way of life, it can really be motivating for them to think, oh, how useful they're being to a wider cause. Another way to promote intrinsic motivation is to build a sense of self confidence. And this is where you work with the children to set their own goals. So at the beginning of each term, we like to set goals for the children. And we ask parents, what are your goals for your children? But it's also important that the learning includes the children's own goals. And then, but depending on the ages of the children, they may need help to break down those goals into bite-sized realistic chunks, and then we then measure and celebrate the achievement of each of those goals and milestones. That helps them to get this sense of, oh, actually I am able to do this, and their sense of self-worth and the sense of self-confidence is boosted by achieving these goals that they set themselves, and is a great motivator for them to continue learning. And we also have this sense of personal joy. And there'll be times in the learning process where, the child really he just gets a great deal of enjoyment out of something they're learning or something they're playing. And as parents and as educators, it's important for us to pause at those places and really get them to relish and enjoy that moment, and get them to express how they're feeling out loud, because this will be affirmative, and it's good for them to hear themselves say how much they're enjoying the learning experience, how much they're enjoying being able to play a particular piece. And that again will help them to be motivated to continue to experience that in the days and weeks to come. And so I'm going to stop this particular video here. I hope I've given you some pause for thought and to think about the different ways in which you can help your children to develop intrinsic motivation that is separate from, rewards or stickers or money or anything like that. It's not so much about bribery, but more about the fact that they want to do this for themselves for all these reasons that we've just talked about. We would love you to get in touch if you have any questions or want to find out more. Thank you.